right, so Jared, yeah, we were just talking. So where in New York are you from? Where'd you grow up?
Actually grew up in Long Island. As you know,
Nice.
but I always went to the city when I always probably like once a week and twice a week. I was always going in there and hanging out, getting in trouble.
Like, what age? What was the inspiration for you to like? What was your first passion? Was it because obviously you wear multiple hats? Was it like acting? Was it directing, writing? What was the first thing that like caught your eye?
Yeah, definitely acting. That was the main. That was the motivator. And I was doing that solely from about when I was like 18, 19 to until I was about 25. I was all about. I was determined. I was going to be a working actor, but life had other plans.
What were some of the early steps you did? Were you just doing like things in school, or were you going to the city and taking like acting classes or anything?
Um, well, yeah, I mean, in LA, I went, so I moved out to LA, and yeah, I got myself in all sorts of classes. I did a Meisner, this
Oh, nice.
two-year Meisner intense, very very intense program, and I was work, I racked up like 30 something, IMDb actor credits, but on indie film, very low budget stuff, and some did a bunch of like no budget student movies, and I was doing the whole actor hustle, man, just trying to get an agent, trying to level up, and sort of in the earlier, at some point I was like, man, I need to do something else, and so I started writing. I started writing scripts. Um, but I didn't think about directing. I was just like, all right, I'm gonna write scripts that have a big part for me, and that was really why I was writing the scripts. But I actually got good. I started getting good at writing scripts. I kept writing script after script.
Nice.
Uh, and of course I was writing the roles for myself, they were good roles. I was like, all right, so it actually, and that's a little like a little hack, a little writer, a screenwriting hack. If you're an actor, like also a writer, like write a role that you would want to play, and then all of a sudden you start thinking about it differently, and then so I'll do that. I'll do that for multiple roles in the same script. Just kind of helps.
Yeah, man. So, what made you go out to LA? Obviously, you went to act, but was it like doing plays in high school, or did you do any college on Long Island or New York, or was it
No,
just
no.
I'm 18, I'm graduating, I'm getting the hell out of here?
So yeah, it was nothing. Yeah, I had no clue what I wanted to do in high school. And then I go to and so I wind up in Northeastern University in Boston. Uh,
Okay.
18. I'm 18, studying communications, which is like 13th grade.
The default.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like the default one. I know.
Yeah, I just no clue of anything. When I was a kid, I would did some writing and whatnot, but nothing like the acting. And then, but I met a roommate, so I moved out of the dorm like after the first semester or second semester or whatever. I moved off campus into just an apartment with uh, random people from an apartment listing, and one of the guys living in there was an actor, and him and I was so right there. I was like, oh man, and he's talking about moving to L.A. and we became buddies, and we started shooting these like little video skits, and he was like studying screenplays and practicing like monologues and like auditioning for shit, and he went out to LA, and then I went out to LA to visit him, and he was doing some work, I was on a set for the first time. I think I was 18, 19, on my first set, the first time I was on a set, but really like I had a moment. I had like that it's sort of like a moment. I was like, man, this is really cool. Like this is a whole different world. Like way cooler than anything I was studying in Boston. So I quit school and he moved out to LA. And then shortly after that I moved out to LA and just hit the ground running. Reading the books and doing studying and trying to get out there as an actor.
Yeah, no, it's good when you have somebody out there. I've interviewed so many actors that's how they know somebody or they go out together. It's one of those things. It's like one of those jobs that it's so hard to make it
Yeah.
in any facet of like Hollywood because it's creative. Obviously, you can be the most creative person, but you need somebody to say, okay, this guy's creative enough, or I see him in this role, or I could see him, shooting this film that I wrote or whatever. So it's like it's so difficult, and the percentage of people that are able to work doing it, it's so hard. But at least if you know somebody that you're like, hey, if he could do it,
yeah, I mean, it really helped. It really helped. And honestly, if I never moved to that apartment, like, and met that dude, I would not be talking about making movies. I have no idea what I would I never would have been turned on to it. I would have been. Who knows, taking out the trash.
So when you got out there, what was that, like 2000-ish, 2003?
Yeah, that was about 2000 and about 2003. Yeah, yeah.
Because you're working like right away. I think Green Planet is that this short that you and him did in like Boston.
Yeah,
that's on IMDb, or is that on LA?
That was out. That one was out. Yeah, that was like one of the first student films I did. Green Planet. Yeah, none of the stuff we shot now, like we messed around. We made it on IMDb, but what was that? 2000, 2003. So yeah, I mean, I was out there. I was out in LA though, like 2002, 2001. Like I first went out there to like visit. It must have been like 2001, and then busted the move like 02. Somewhere in that like I think in August in 2002 was when I came out there or officially to move, or maybe it's my time, a little off. I'm not 100% what month, but
no. But what I'm saying is it's pretty cool. You get out there and you're like working. Obviously, like you said, you do the 2 years of training, and I'm sure during that time you're auditioning and everything.
Oh, yeah.
But like you see all those films like right away, like 2005. Alien Abduction, Way of the Vampire, Legion of the Dead. So you're like on set. So like that's the most important thing. That's the only way you can get better or learn about it is that if you actually do it. So at least pretty much right out of the gate, you're hitting the ground running, which is phenomenal.
It's so true. It's like I see a lot of people go in, and a lot of people were in the class. I was in the classes with all sorts of people, but I was really. I was on the, so I got that. I was on the set. That's what got me going. So I really wanted to just be on set. So, and I didn't really care. I was like, I'm gonna audition for everything. I didn't care if it paid me, nothing, or it had, cost me gas money to, to drive to set. I just wanted to be, working on my craft and being in a creative atmosphere. And if if I got paid, great. And on, even all the better. But for me, that was the motivator.
And then you made that transition. So you're doing that. You're an actor. You're for like 4 or 5 years. And then how did that transition happen? Obviously, you said you were writing.
Yeah.
And you thought of the idea, hey, I'm going to write roles that I want to play for me, and then other roles I want to play. Because then while you're writing that script, you're interested in those characters a little bit more because you're like, hey, maybe I'll be that role.
Yeah.
But like Legend Has It is the first one on it. And I'm sure there's other ones you wrote before that, but it's like Legend Has It and The Carpenter Part 1, which are 2 ones that came out in 2009.
Yeah. It was and Legend Has It was the first script that I guess technically I sold and I wound up actually also being a producer on that and starring in the
Nice.
movie. So that was a very tiny budget, but that was my first sort of experience really behind the camera producing, and I wrote the script. So after Legend Has It, I had to I was like, you know what? I didn't direct Legend Has It, but that Legend Has It gave me the confidence to basically take all my money out and make The Carpenter. And the Carpenter was like, oh, this is going to be my directorial debut, and at that point, I was I was doing some of the acting wasn't going really super great, so I was really like, okay, this is going to be, at least I'm going to make money on this horror movie, The Carpenter, which I didn't, and it was total loss. But that wasn't because the movie. It wasn't because the movie was bad. It was just because I didn't know anything about the business, and I just got, it was just you're gonna get killed most of the time if first time out.
Yeah, no, you don't know those things. Like I've interviewed other directors, and they're really good. This guy Joe Castro, who did like Terror Tunes and a bunch of those movies,
Yeah.
And he has a Facebook page to help out
Yep.
like indie filmmakers. All right,
It's in my book.
Okay.
I mentioned his. I mentioned. I hit up Joe Castro. That's cool, man. We should definitely. I'm gonna because I'm friends with him.
Oh, cool.
And
no, Joe's cool. He was one of the first interviews I did, like the first year I did this. Really nice guy. Like I still talk to him, just like in messaging. Like he always posts like these cool behind the scenes like special effects. He's unbelievable for what. Honestly, his work is unreal.
I mean,
for probably the shoestring budgets that he deals with, it's wild.
And also like just to touch on his group, he's so brave and like just courageous, and I have so much respect for him for starting that Facebook group and really trying to help indie filmmakers, stay away from some of the bad actors in the space. And he's bold, man, and you know what, and my hat's off to him for doing that.
What's crazy about it is it's so funny. Like there's so many movies that you watch and you see the ones that are in that group and you're like, oh, like Gravitas Ventures, they've done like movies that I've like big movies with big actors. And you're like, and the other one was like Wild Eye Entertainment. I'm
man.
like, I saw a really good movie with them. And I'm like, these people are,
and I have stories with both Gravitas and Wild Eye, and and I'll tell you what, man, they belong in that group. They belong in that group. They belong. Yeah, I mean,
and I think that's the hardest thing. It's like when you go to film school or you're on set learning from directors or whatever. It's like there's things in life that nobody would ever teach you about something, and I'm sure that's not one people ever really think about. They're like, I got the movie, it's in the can, I edited it, it looks great, screened it, everybody loves it, and it's like, okay, now I have to get it out to people. And like that is a really difficult step in the process to get it in front of an audience.
Yeah, I mean it's luckily, I mean, I think we're at a very recently, and companies like there's a company Film Hub, which is I just started getting some older titles, on there, but I love what they're doing, and I really hope to be singing their praises, but I can't, I'm not yet. Nothing's yet. I'm not singing any praises yet, but I did a lot of research, and I just love their what they're doing, everything about their self-distribution. The way they, the self-distribution, but there's a hybrid, something else is going on, but they're doing it great. The intention is good.
Nice. No, I like I watched 2 of your movies today. I watched on Tubi.
Oh, love Tubi. I mean, shout out.
And you
Tubi.
did a Tubi original. I think that's the coolest thing about Tubi. I don't know if they started the originals before or after Fox purchased them, or however their relationship is, but the Tubi originals, man, that's so cool. And you did one of them. You did the one shark movie, right?
I did. Well, I did a couple. Actually, I did three in total. One hasn't come out yet. Lord of the
Nice.
Streets. Yeah, Swim was one of the very
Yep.
first Tubi originals. And that was, yeah, right after Fox. Uh, they did that deal, and they started getting into originals, and yeah, Swim was one of the first Tubi originals, and yeah, I guess it did. I heard it did really well, and happy to hear, and sort of that's how I got you know into working with Tubi, and then my producing partner and I, and we did Lord of the Streets, which is on Tubi, and then we just did a new movie called The Get Back, which is coming out May 19th on Tubi.
Cool.
Uh, and so that's the new one. That's the new. But yeah, I love Tubi, and yeah, big shout out to Tubi for just
Yeah.
changing the game and taking over the space.
Yeah, no, it's great. No, in fact, they have all different types of movies that you could discover that you wouldn't see other places. But so you do the Carpenter, like you said, you took out all the money out, and you said, I'm going to make this. So from there, like Born Bad and Underground Lizard People are the next two that you did in
Uh,
2011,
under
a
well,
couple of years
well,
later.
actually, yeah. Well, Lizard People was before. Um, Lizard. It's funny. Well, I had a little weird gap there. So what happened after Carpenter? After Carpenter came out and was like, I thought this was going to be some big, thing, and it didn't. I got burned out. I had a moment where I spent all my money and basically just got tapped out, and then had to go back to New York.
Oh,
And then I went to Phil, and then actually I went to. I was like, all right, well, I did some like serious soul searching there, and I was like, all right, I was what 25, 26, something like that, and I was like, all right, well, the acting thing. Actually, I tried to get into a little of the acting thing in New York, but I was like, let me go to film school. So I went to film school at the New York Institute of Technology, got a you know, proper BFA, but in film school made a movie, was making were making movies, and was actually flying to LA to act in movies while in film school. So
nice.
it was pretty cool. The professors were like, oh, okay, they were like, because I was in film class, and I was flying to LA to star in movies, so it was pretty cool.
That is awesome. Who were like? I watched Bikini Spring Break today, and I watched Atlantic Rim,
Oh, nice,
Uprising.
nice.
So I have to be totally honest with you. It's so cool watching these because obviously one's a comedy and they're two different sci-fi and comedy. But like, who was your inspiration for like your shots? Like they're really good looking movies. Like the way you pan the camera, the way everything's set up, especially Atlantic Rim. I'm not even kidding. Like it's shot very well.
Oh,
Do you
thank
use the
you.
same director of photography or cinematographer? Is that something that you have your hands on?
Uh, different cinematographers, but I will say this, I am very much like a camera geek. I
Okay.
in a cinematography, like fan, like I even though I have credits as a cinematographer, and I don't consider myself a proper cinematographer, but I love all things. I have two red cameras, and I took the master class at the ASC, and studied with some great cinematographers, and you know I read American cinematographer, so I'm very much into the shots and the look and the aesthetics,
Nice.
and to me that's to me that's really filmmaking, like the look of it. It's got to look cool, and like that, that's a style that I think just took over time, just developing, like, okay, well, what looks cool and big, what looks big, and how can I make, even on a tight budget, that's really the challenge. Like, how can you make something look big and cool? And, when you're not, don't have that much money.
Yeah. No, I think that's exactly what you said. Like, that's great that you're like a camera geek, because when you watch a movie, like, those are things that you look out for. Like, sound is super important, obviously, like good sound, and visually you want it to look like what you're used to.
Yeah.
And those two movies, I think they look like you're watching a big budget movie, like visually, and
Thank you.
they're funny. I like Bikini Spring Break because I like Robert Carradine. He's funny. Like, I almost interviewed him and his agent. Not like the agent was the only person I talked to, but he, like, sort of, like, not big time me, but he was like, he replied back. Like, somebody by a name, like, he's Robert Carradine.
Yeah, yeah.
So the guy emailed me back after I sent, like, the email, like, hey, I'd love to interview Robert about his career. And the guy's like, hey, Doug, yeah, Bobby's real busy right now. And I'm like, Bobby?
Bobby.
But that's that's probably what he goes by, I'm sure. But it's just funny, like, these people like Tom Cruise, like, if his agent was like, yeah, Tommy's real busy today, I'm like, that's kind of weird.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, Bobby was cool. Bobby, I don't think I called him. I don't called him Bobby. We didn't.
But he looks great. Like, that's 2012 when I watched that. But I saw him in something else pretty recently too. But he looks great for his age.
Oh, yeah.
And he's great in the movie. The girls are all like, I think that's what's good about who you cast. I didn't watch a ton of your movies or look at a lot of the IMDb. I don't know if you use a lot of the same actors, but especially for Atlantic Rim, like, everybody in that movie, you're like, these are good actors. Like, each person is good. Like,
casting is so important.
And that's what you look for.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that is super important and will always be super important is casting the movies. I mean, is do you got quality actors? Are they also, are they reliable and cool to work with? All that stuff is super important too. And in a way, some of that stuff is more important than like, is this guy, like, super great for the role? He might be, but he's kind of crazy. It's like, I don't want that. Give me someone reliable I can work with and take time and find, like, more, get more shots with. If someone's going to be difficult like, and they're a great actor, I don't care. That's fine. They can act in other people's movies. I want to find the actor that we can collaborate and do cool stuff together, and not not have this. I've had some situations with some difficult actors.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
And I think that's a thing that, it's not a fault, but you see movies like the kind of films you shoot. You see there's like that, hey, let's get that actor from the 80s, 90s that might have a drug problem, and they have him in these movies. And I've interviewed some people that are like, yeah, it was a nightmare.
Yeah.
Like I forget the one lady's name. Oh my God. The lady she was in Ace Ventura. She played Einhorn. I should know her name. She's in Blade Runner.
Yeah,
She's in a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
Stripes. I heard stories about her. It was like, yeah, we figured it out so she could be there for 2 days, and we did all the shots, so we could do her in 2 days, and she showed up for half a day.
Oh,
so
man,
we had to really, like, change the way the movie for her character, but he was like, we made it work, and it ended up being better, but it's just like that difficulty of what you're working with. It's cool that you have the eye for those people, especially in Atlantic Rim. Like, and another thing that I think is so hard with, like you said, like, working with a lower budget is, like, CG. Like, working in a movie that has CG. And I thought, honestly, they look pretty good. Like, in that movie.
The Asylum. Shout out to the Asylum. I mean, that company put me on the map. And they are just fantastic, and they're genius, and they're, when it comes to marketing and what movies they make, and they have just they do so many visual effects, and they have such short turnarounds, and the visual effects artists are working so hard, and they're great guys, like they're guys and gals. They're But man, it is hard work. They're just you're behind a computer, just da 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 da, and they're just dialed in, doing dinosaurs and sharks and explosions and earthquakes and everything, like just destroying the world every day. And it's a lot of work. It's a lot of hard work. Man, so yeah, shout out to the visual effects department, and really, yeah, you got to know how to shoot for them. Otherwise, you can, if you don't shoot. I'll say this: like if you don't know how to shoot for visual effects, and you can make their lives very difficult. And subsequently, the movie will not be as good because you'll have to spend more time fixing things that just because they weren't shot properly and for visual effects. So you have to kind of know how to shoot for visual effects. And you want to have a good relationship with them. Don't piss them off.
Yeah. Yeah. When was the first time you connected with them? Because I think, was Bikini Spring Break? That was an Asylum movie.
Yeah. The first one was Way the Vampire, way back in the day.
Oh, so when you were acting?
Oh yeah,
is when you first connected with them. Cool.
Yeah. So it was. I think I met with the Asylum 2003, 2002. So yeah, I mean, I've known them over 20 years at this point. And yeah, I acted in a bunch of their movies, and then I directed, I want to say 15 and 18 Asylum movies, and acted in a bunch. Yeah, one of the Sharknadoes. I starred in one of the less seen Sharknadoes, but should be.
Oh yeah. I saw. What's his name's in that from Titus? I forget his name.
Zach Ward,
the redhead.
Zach Ward.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to Zach. Yeah, he's working a lot.
Yeah. So that's cool. So you worked with them. So what would you say? What was like for your like directing and writing side? Because obviously you're still acting, like you said, all this time. When did you feel like you came into your own? Was there like a movie you did, or a review, or somebody?
Man,
came up to you or anything?
You're still chasing that feeling sometimes.
Yeah.
It's
I like that.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I can't say there's been one. There's been moments where you're like, okay, I'm here. I'm doing better than I was last year, and but then you start. That's a constant struggle, because it's like you want to be you even wherever you're at, and you're like, you want to be here. You know what I mean? If you're here, you want to be there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Nobody wants to be. Nobody's like, yeah. You know what? I'm cool. I'm really cool where I'm at. Like I don't really want to do bigger stuff or whatever. Like, so it's always like, man, okay, what's next? What can I do to be bigger? So yeah, that's constant.
Is that the difficult thing? Like I interviewed Griff first.
Oh yeah, I worked. Griff was in Alien Abduction with me.
Oh yeah,
and a couple other things.
So I talked with him because he's done so many like films, and I don't know if it was Asylum or not, but some like shark type movies, and then he's like in movies that like Terminator Genesis. So he's done like so many different things, and with his dad being who he was, like in Animal House and Dream Team. And so I asked him like what that difficult thing is, because there's like this weird stigma in Hollywood, and it happens. Like I've interviewed a few adult film stars, and it's like the stigma of that. Like the one actress, Brittany Amber, she's like actually like a good actress. Like she's been in mainstream stuff, and there's like this stigma that she won't be able to be in other things. People will be like, oh, well, you did this.
Yeah.
So and Griff kind of had that sentiment when it comes to like directing, because he's like, I did all these, like he did like an Lake Placid 3. So he did that movie, and he said whenever I would go in and like try to pitch for like a bigger one, they like, that's the first thing they do. They don't even really listen to me. They just look at, hey, this is what you did in the past. Is that something
Oh
that
man.
you've like? Do you go on call and be like, "Hey, there's this movie that's being shot. The budget's X," and you can go there and be like, "Hey, my name is Jared. Here's what I would do for it." Is that something that you do,
Nah,
or?
you know, I mean, you really, that's like, you start to get into like, agents and managers and, pitching you, to try to get into those jobs. And yeah, and that's, I mean, there is a stigma. I mean, they look at, they'll look at, my credits and be like, oh yeah, you did these low budget movies, so we're not going to hire you to direct because you're a low budget guy. You
Yeah.
did this slasher movie 10 years ago, so you must not be good or enough to direct this, more prestigious, bigger budgeted, whatever. Like it really sucks. Yeah, I mean it really sucks, and they really pigeonhole. The industry really does try to like pigeonhole and put you in boxes, and you really got to kind of claw your way out, and that's that's part of the process, just and part of that is saying no. Sometimes you have to say no because
Yeah.
if it's something really low, and that's a hard thing too. Like when do you say no? When is it okay to, if someone's offering you a movie, you try so hard to get a movie to direct, and then to turn one down because not because you don't want to do the movie, just because you don't want to be kept in the box. Like you're trying to get,
Yeah.
if you're doing if you just, did a few $100,000 movies and you're trying to do $1 million movies, and then you got a $300,000 movie that you did and it was great, and then now you're in this position. You don't want to do it, and then someone offers you don't want to necessarily do a lower because you don't want to mess up your shot to get the bigger. So it's weird. You should be able to do it all, and the work should be judged on the budget, but that's just not how it is at all. So you
Yeah.
sort of have to then enter the picky. Like, do I say no? Which you don't want to, but you should sometimes, and that's the hard part.
Yeah, because you don't know what could be that next.
Might not
Because
come.
there's so many.
You might
of those,
not get a bigger movie.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Yeah, you might not get a next movie. They'll be like, "Hey, this asshole said no last time, so I'm not gonna ask him again."
Exactly, and,
See?
and that happens too. Like you'll be like, oh, I've seen that happen where people. Oh, with actors, I've casted actors, in a smaller thing, and then like a bigger thing, and then like, oh, what, they won't do the smaller thing, and then later, and then I'll hear from them like 2 years later, like, oh, hey man, sorry, should have did that thing. Like I'm available. But I mean, sometimes you never know. You can't blame anybody for turning something down if they think, what, this might be bad for them and for some whatever reason.
Yeah. No, I think that there's a stigma when it really comes to like horror and sci-fi. I think it's so ridiculous, but the only way you can. Now, like, obviously you're making films that people enjoy. You love doing it, but to get a big budget feature, it's like you have to like hit a home run. Not saying none of your movies have been a home run or everybody,
No,
but it's
none
like
of
you have
them
to have like that
yeah.
terror. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like no, it's like Terrifier, like Terrifier 2, what that did, like, which is super rarity. But like that is how that happens, and then I don't know what else I know right away. I think that director signed on with somebody else, like some studio or something.
You need a hit, yeah, to sort of get out of the low budget independent space to make that transition from indie low budget to studio. That's the hardest transition, I think, to make. That's even harder. Then again, yeah, that's the final. That's the ultimate. Like everyone's like, all right, big budget movies, studio stuff, all that stuff, big schedules, and you could do like really cool. Yeah, so everybody wants to get there, and yeah, I mean, it's just a grind. How do you make that happen? How do you make that transition? Like, how do you need a hit? You need to make a hit movie that gets into Sundance or something, like, or just kills it on VOD, like something so good and original. It's got to be like really just awesome. Like you got to break through like that, and that's true. You just need, if you do something super awesome, I think that's kind of the secret.
Yeah, I think one thing that you have going for you, obviously, is like the connection with Tubi and like those Tubi originals. Is when you go on there, that's like a big category, because that's where I saw Swim before I even was going to connect with you. Like even a few months back, like they have like when you're scrolling down, they have like the Tubi originals, and when you're going through that, it's all those movies. So it's good that they promote their stuff like that. So Street Profits, which is out already, right? And what's the new one?
Oh, the Get Back coming out.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that'll be out May 19th. Yeah, Tubi.
What's that? What genre is that? The Get Back.
Like action. It's
cool.
Stars Theo Rossi, got Dermot Mulroney, Kim Coates, Shane Paul McGee, and yeah, basically about a guy who's sort of a witness in a murder case, and he's on the run, and a bounty hunter's got to bring him in, and everyone's trying to kill him, and you kind of don't know who is trying to kill him or why until it all comes together in a hopefully a very entertaining way.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, Dermot Mulroney. That's a good get. That's a good
Dermot. Dermot is one hell of an actor, man. That guy is cool. He is as suave as they say he is.
No, it's good to see a guy like that, like in the Scream franchise. He was like a pleasant surprise to see somebody like that in the new Scream movie.
Yeah, I gotta check that out. I gotta go and support Dermot and check out the new Scream movie. I will.
That's a good get. So like when you're directing, like I was just talking about that before, like obviously the people that in the films that I watch, they're good actors, and they're like, when you watch them, you're like so enthralled with like their, especially, I really like, I love the relationship in Atlantic Rim Uprising with Hammer and the two girls. I thought I thought it was like, I don't know, it was so good. Like their relationship, they're pounding drinks, and it's like, all right, time to go to work. And then they're in these giant like robots fighting like this huge like crab-like creature.
It's characters. The actors you have and the moments. Create. But also that comes down to the script. Like if you got a good story, it's like a scale. You can have, if your actors are amazing and your script is like not great, your movie can only be. But if you have if you have great actors and a great script, then you got something there. You got something special. But yeah, the script is more important. Believe it. Obviously, you can have, if you have a great script, and your actors are just okay, like you can still have a really good movie. Like that. They just have to serve the story that is great. And if the story, because story supersedes all, I believe that.
Oh yeah, there has to be a beginning, middle, and end, because there's so many movies. I just watched that Sam Rockwell one with Suri. I always say her first name wrong, but her last name's Ronan. Sari.
Yeah.
Lady Bird.
Yeah.
So it was like a really good movie, but then the end fell flat. And you're right. I think it's so key to have that. So what are some like, obviously you have this coming out on the 19th. What are some do you have any dream type movies that you'd want to do? Would you want to do like another horror, another like type of like action, or
I would love to do I'm just gonna say, a big budget war movie with just like, it doesn't have to be Saving Private Ryan big. Oh, but that would be amazing. But like, I think war just creates this sort of landscape. It's just, you got so much stuff going on. That would be that would be great. I would love to do also like maybe something from the like the Predator, a Predator movie.
Oh yeah,
because I just love the Predator, and that would be really cool. but yeah, I mean, just big. I really want to do something big. Just like not like a I want to have some toys to play with. Like I made a lot of movies on tight schedules, but I really want to like get the opportunity to shoot an action scene over 2 weeks, and see what I can do with that. Because it's always like, okay, you've got 12 pages to shoot today. It's a car chase and a fight, and you got to shoot a quick scene out front of the place. So it's like you got 3 hours to shoot this fight, and you do the best you can. You get some cool shots. You make it look good. You move the camera around, and make sure you get enough to cut it together. But like, let me play. Like, let me get there. Let me get some like big ass cranes and whip them around and blow things up, and not just blow one thing up. I want to blow a lot of things up. I want to just flip up. Just destroy a whole like set. Like spend some time doing it, and that's my goal. That's really what I want to, get into, and that could be, it's got to be a good script. It's got to be a good story.
Yeah. What was the most? Was there like a expensive shot that you did? What do you know one that you've done that was like most expensive, like something you did?
Yeah, the most expensive shot that I did. That's a good question. That's a good question. A few times I've destroyed a few cars. Those shots, were probably flipping a car. We we threw some people, lit some people on fire. Obviously that cost
Nice.
that costs money because you gotta you put them in the suit and get the
Yeah.
proper stunt team. But yeah, I mean the biggest probably shot was the set piece on the Lynyrd Skynyrd movie where we wrecked an entire plane, recreated the plane,
Wow.
recreated the actual like plane crash set, like from the photographs of like the actual crash site, and our department did a fantastic job, and we had a big crane, and it was a big setup in the woods and bodies and debris and smoke, and that was a big shot. That might have been the most expensive shot. And
How'd that come to be? Somebody reached out to you, or is that something that you knew somebody? Or
that came about a good friend of mine, Brian Pereira, who runs Cleopatra Records, has Artemis, who was the original drummer of Lynyrd Skynyrd, signed to his record label, and Brian's a genius. Yeah, he's a movie mogul, and I mean music mogul, and getting into movies. So I mean, but he's been doing movies for a while now, and yeah, we're just he hit me up and asked if if it would be something I would be interested in, and to be honest with you, at first I was, overwhelmed. It's something you don't want to
yeah.
fuck up. You don't want to be the guy who
Yeah.
messes up a movie about Lynyrd Skynyrd. And I didn't know when the first came about. Of course I knew who Lynyrd Skynyrd was, and Sweet Home Alabama, Freebird, all that, but I didn't know too much, So but I did. I was like, okay, if I'm gonna take it on, I'm gonna study the songs and the lyrics and the interviews and the whole nine.
Yeah. Crazy. That's a pretty wild story.
Yeah, that story is some other things that I'll save it for I'll leave it for the book. What some other things that happen, but some crazy
Yeah.
stuff happens while making movies, and yeah, that's what a lot of the book just has some of
You
that.
have a book. What's the name of the book? Is that the book you held up before?
Yeah. That's the book. Yeah, that's the book that
No, I know you. I know you picked it up and we started talking about Joe Castro.
Oh yeah.
It was 50.
50 movies made. Let me grab. Yeah, let me hold that up.
Very cool, dude.
That's the book. That's coming out May 15th, and
Nice.
this is it right here. 50 movies made.
You and Shatner.
We got me and Shatner. That's Mike Tyson. Uh,
Very cool, dude. Good
Bruce
for you.
Bruce
What made you
Will.
think about writing a book?
You know, I mean, to be honest, of all things, the title, 50 movies made.
Yeah, that's a milestone.
You know, I was around, around movie 40 something. I just start, people were asking, like, oh, how many. I just started saying to people, yeah, they were like, oh, you do a lot of movies. I was like, yeah, I made, 50 movies made about, and I was like, oh yeah, 50 movies made. I started saying it a bunch, and then I was like, that's a book title. I was like that, because I love reading books. I love reading books about Hollywood people and biographies and filmmakers. So, I was like, all right, well, if I were to write a book, what kind of book would I want to read, so to speak? So
Yeah.
I was like, all right. And I just wrote. It took a while to write the book and edit it.
Oh, it takes forever, man.
Oh man,
Yeah, dude. I helped actor Larry Hankin. Larry Hankin? He was on like Friends, Seinfeld, Breaking Bad. If you saw him, he's a local guy. He's from he grew up in the city, in New York City, and then I connected with him on an interview like this in like September of 2019.
Oh, nice.
And he was talking about wanting to write a book, and I had no idea what I was doing, but I like challenges. So he's like, hey, do you know anybody that can help me write a book? And I was like, oh, I can help you. So I spent like all of COVID, the first 6 months of COVID, just getting all the stories, because he was 81 when we started, and I was just like watching his movies and like his scenes and like trying to tell him things to like pick his memory or send him clips and stuff. And it just came out at the end of February.
Wow.
That's how long it took. Like, because at first he wanted to do like a one-man show, but obviously COVID put a damper on that. And he's like, I'm going to write a book from this.
Wow.
Like, right,
what's the name of the
But
book?
no, man, that's awesome.
What's the name of the book?
It's called That Guy. A Cautionary Tale. Because he's like that guy. He's like, he's in 200 plus credits. He's the guy you know from everything.
Yeah.
Like, you see him, you're like, oh shit, I know.
I got to check that out. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, I'll like randomly, like my daughter's 4 and I showed her Alf the other day.
Yeah.
We just put like a random Alf on, and he's the guy in Alf, and he's the guy that's like robbing houses in the neighborhood.
Man, those stories, yeah. I want to read that book. I mean, because that's what I like. That's actually what the kind of books I love reading. Just like,
yeah, me too. Like the random stories. Like I love obviously films, but I love documentaries, man. I could watch Crystal Lake Memories and Never Sleep Again, like the ones about the making of Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
Just like what goes into making this movie that you're like, wow, this is such a big movie. And it's like, yeah, they kind of filmed this within like no time.
Yeah.
Like they put a poster out before the script was even written. And it's like these cool stories, about like the making of movies. So that's pretty cool. I'll definitely check out your book. You can have it on Amazon or you self-publish or.
So yeah, it's on Amazon.
Nice.
Amazon, $9.99 for the ebook. I think it's $19.99 for the paperback. But yeah, Amazon pretty much. Yeah, it's available other places, but I would just go to Amazon. Cool. That's the easiest. I self-published it, and
nice.
But it's just. I mean, why not? I mean, everybody. I buy all my stuff on Amazon. It's like, well, might as well just not have to give some publisher that's probably just going to do the same thing.
Yeah. No, that's cool. It's so crazy. You think about like just from the beginning of our conversation, like you're like, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I go into New York once or twice a week, and like you meet that guy that when you move off campus when you're at Northeastern, and look at that 22 years later, you have a book out about what you're doing. And
never would have thought I would have got into making movies, let alone have written a book called 50 Movies Made, which is. Yeah, I mean, life is just crazy, and you really can't predict what the hell you're going to do next. And I think, that's important. That's an important pill to like
Yeah.
swallow. Like, because if you try to, I think when you try to go against the universe's wishes, that's when you're gonna feel the pain.
Yeah. Well, your sequel is going to be 100. That'll be the next book.
Well, man,
100.
I don't know if I want to, get up there. I want to, focus, do some bigger,
I
more
hear you.
quality. Yeah, more. Not. I don't want to. I don't want to bash any films I did,
No, I know
yeah,
what you mean. No, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah. No, I think I think the word B movie is it's such like a diss for some reason for people, but it's not in the sense of like people that enjoy them. It's not like I say like, oh, B movie, or you say B movie in the sense of like, oh, this movie's gonna suck or it looks like shit. It's just it's there's a type of genre and there's a type of people that are in it, and it's not like they're anything bad. It's just a different type of like experience, I guess. But
yeah. No, I mean, I think, I mean, 50 movies is a lot, and it's not necessarily, look, everybody has their own path. Look at like Damien Chazelle, right? What is he makes Whiplash short, then the feature, wins like Academy Award, does La La Land, like wins another Academy Award, like, uh, and then, well, I mean, then makes Babylon, and then basically just kind of, ooh, a man as a that. See, I mean, that's the problem. When you have a fast, when you rock it up, and I'm sure he'll be fine,
yeah, I think it'll be okay.
he'll be okay. But I mean,
Yeah.
you gotta, when you do something like that, not having a sort of a foundation in smaller, if you just go and do a huge movie, if you do a small movie and then you do a huge movie that doesn't do great, it's that's tough because then you should need to go back and do a smaller movie. Otherwise it's going to be tough to probably get the funding and all that stuff.
Yeah, Margot Robbie, man, she had a rough fall. Even though she obviously has Barbie, she has all these other movies, but she was in
Yeah.
Babylon, and she was in the other one that just was like
Oh yeah,
not.
man.
Critics hated those two movies.
Yeah, I know. She's having a rough. Hopefully, well, I mean, I saw it, and I saw the trailer for Barbie, and I'm just like, I don't know. Like, I'm like,
I think if they go, I think they're going to go super weird with it, which I think might work.
I think that might work.
So we'll see. Like,
that might work, and or it might not. Like these days, this day and age, audiences are a little. There's a lot of options for their time,
Yeah.
and weird in these days of AVOD and it's the rules are kind of changing, like
Yeah.
because people are really seeing like what they are entertained by, and there's a home for that right away. So if it's not clicking with this free ad supported television model,
Yeah.
it might not click. I mean, if you take a look at some of the films that are just not hidden, like they necessarily people thought they would. There's been a lot of that lately.
Yeah. Depends. It's whoever's in charge too. A lot of times you have those people that are like the higher ups, really like. Obviously, they have that job, but they might not have the right vision to green light the right projects or put the right people in the projects or in charge of the projects. But there's so many. You're like, oh man, look at all these commercials for it. You're like,
Yeah.
This isn't what I want to say.
Yeah. I mean, it's you gotta find finding what to watch is. I mean, there's a lot of options, but also sometimes too many options overwhelming. And the good stuff will be.
Oh, dude. Exactly. Like Jared, growing up, just think of when you went to the video store as a kid, like with your parents. I remember like whenever I rent it, even if we put it on and it sucked, we had to watch
Yeah,
it. Like because that's what we were watching on. Even though we had like the illegal black box, so we'd watch like whatever was on pay per view or whatever. It would still be like this is the movie that we're gonna watch because my dad spent $1.99 on it.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's what we're gonna watch. You know.
Exactly.
Now you're just like I have 10,000 other options right now.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah. 30. 15 seconds in, you're not entertained. So what else is on?
no, I know. Jared, this has been awesome, man. One more question I have to ask you, just because I talked Dick Dixter.
Oh
So
yeah,
when I
Dick
chatted
Dixter.
when I chatted with Bobby Schaefer, who is man, what a character that guy is. And I just thought I noticed that on your IMDb.
Oh.
What a fun character he is.
Oh man, that was a fun experience. Yeah, and that was me just acting. Yeah, I mean, I that was one of the sort of movies that came about after I sort of not threw the acting title in, but sort of put it in the back burner, and then just one of my filmmaker friends hits me up, knows I'm an actor, and he's like, "Hey, I think one of the actors dropped out. It was like a big role, and it was already cast, and they had shot a little bit with the actor, and he left the project, and I was the replacement guy. I was like, "Can you be on set? We need you today."
That's fine. That's all good. But no. It just he's such a character. Like his movies, you should connect with him and direct his third Psycho Cop.
Yeah,
that he's trying to write.
yeah. That would be great. We should. I should link up with him.
He rapped the whole song to me,
Oh, nice.
like freestyle rapped. Like I don't know where he's like, yeah, I already wrote a rap for it. Do you want to hear it? And he went right into it. It sounded good, but no, he loves what he does. He started writing he was writing like documentaries on the History Channel in the early '90s, and then somehow became Psycho Cop.
Yeah.
And then he did other roles in the '80s, but
No, he's great.
Yeah.
He's a great actor. Shout out to Bobby. Yeah, that was fun.
you're great, man. Dude, I love talking to you. I really appreciate it. And it's cool, tri-state area connection.
Yeah,
And,
no, great. Thank you so much for having me out. Yeah, can't wait to share the
Oh yeah, dude, it'll probably be next month. But before then, I'll share the movie and I'll put the link to the Get Back on my website and your book and everything. And yeah, dude, yeah, I love talking. It's fun just talking filmmaking because I think it's such an interesting, like you and like I mentioned, like Griff. I think it's such an interesting thing because it is like that. What so many people love to watch, like in the like those Tubis and even on Prime and Pluto.
yeah.
No, man, I really enjoyed watching your movies today. I'm gonna check out a lot more of them. But
I appreciate
Atlantic
it, man.
Rim, Uprising.
I love it.
Cool, man.
Cool, bro.
Good luck, Jarrett.
All right. I'll
Have a good day, man.
thank you, bro. All right. Take care.
Bye.